Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Torres. I am a fully funded PhD candidate at the University of Malaga in the Department of English, French, and German. Today, I'll be presenting on literary assemblages, mapping a relational framework for literary analysis in the 21st century. This presentation is part of the research project Reorienting Assemblage Theory in Anglophone Literature and Culture, which is led by Professor Rosario Arias Douglas. In this project, we explore assemblage theory as a framework for analyzing contemporary literature, especially texts from the 1990s onward, that reflect the relational dynamics of our interconnected world. The talk has two parts. First, I'll provide an overview of assemblage theory, its origins, key features, and development as a method. And second, I'll focus on how assemblage thinking has been applied in fields like critical posthumanism, new materialisms, and eco-criticism to analyze literary texts. I'll emphasize approaches that explore the entanglement of human and non human entities, addressing issues like non human agency, cognition, and the Anthropocene. This presentation begins with the question of why so many intellectuals are turning to relationality and why a relational ontology seems particularly apt for describing our contemporary context. Four interconnected factors help explain this shift. First, globalization and cultural hybridization have reshaped social, economic, and cultural structures with interconnected networks and global migration influencing local cultures and creating cosmopolitan identities. Second, the digital revolution has transformed relationality. With social media, the Internet of Things, and technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, and biotechnologies shaping personal identities and communities. Third, climate change underscores the interdependence between humans and ecosystems, prompting a revaluation of agency and vulnerability, while the COVID 19 pandemic revealed the intricate links between humans, animals, and the environment. Finally, emerging post-humanist and multi-species perspectives in anthropology, philosophy, and cognitive science focus on distributed cognition and agency. Relationality, as scholars like Escobar et al. And McCabe argue, is rooted in the idea of radical interdependence. It goes beyond connecting pre existing entities, proposing instead that nothing exists independently of the relationships that constitute it. Escobar et al. Emphasize that relationality is intrinsic to existence itself, challenging us to rethink the nature of being. However, relationality also requires a critical understanding of how connections are formed, maintained, and transformed. Attention must be paid to power dynamics. Who benefits from these connections? Who is marginalized? And how are these networks operate? This leads to the second key question. How has this relational mode been theorized within the social sciences and humanities? Well, assemblage theory, which emerged as part of the relational turn, provides a framework for rethinking how we understand knowledge, being, and action in a world characterized by interconnection and fluidity. It challenges foundational concepts of Western thought, such as static ontologies, rigid hierarchies, and dualistic categories. Developed by Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari, the theory emphasizes connection, flux, and transformation while critiquing the capitalist structures that capture creativity and desire. Assemblage theory, instead, offers ways of imagining a cautious escape from these forms of control and proposes alternative models for subject formation that align with the dynamic realities of our world. One of the most significant contributions of assemblage theory is its rethinking of the subject. Deleuze and Guattari dismantled the traditional modern subject, often imagined as a white, male, able bodied, and autonomous figure, and replace it with a more fluid, relational, and dynamic understanding of subjectivity. They suggest that subjectivity is formed through connections within assemblages rather than existing as a fixed or independent entity. As they explain in this quote, dismantling the organism means opening the body to connections that presuppose an entire assemblage. This relational view of subjectivity is tied to the concept of becoming, which replaces the static notion of being. For the Lesangatari, becoming captures the fluid and ever changing nature of reality, as seen in the statement here that says becoming is neither one nor two. It is the in between, the line of flight. Assemblage theory also emphasizes nonlinear and non hierarchical ways of understanding relationships. Rejecting traditional tree like or hierarchical models, it introduces the image of the rhizome to describe reality as decentralized and composed of interconnected lines. The Lesangatari write in this quote that there are no points or positions in a rhizome, there are only lines. This rhizomatic thinking aligns with their broader critique of hierarchical structures and reflects their commitment to a flat ontology where no single element dominates or subsumes the rest. Central to assemblage theory is also the concept of affect, which is derived from the monist philosophy of Spinoza. Affect refers to the intensity of desire in action and the forces that emerge in encounters between entities. For the Lesangatari, affect is what binds assemblages together and defines the potential of a body to act or be acted upon. As they state, we know nothing about a body until we know what it can do. In other words, what its affects are, how they can or cannot enter into composition with other affects. In this way, affect plays a crucial role in shaping the dynamic relations that constitute assemblages. Well, assemblage theory has been extended and adapted by numerous scholars to address contemporary challenges. Bruno Latour, for example, builds on the theory in his actor network theory, incorporating non human agency and redefining actors or actants as, and I quote, anything that does modify a state of affairs by making a difference, end of quote. Manuel de Landa extends assemblage theory into social ontology, emphasizing the autonomy of parts within assemblages and the ability to form new connections. Ian Buchanan, on the other hand, critiques what he sees as diluted versions of assemblage theory, reclaiming Deleuze and Guattari's original work and arguing for its continued relevance in analyzing complex contemporary phenomena. The influence and applications of assemblage theory, first proposed by Deleuze and Guattari and later expanded by critical post-humanist thinkers, have significantly shaped contemporary philosophy. This theory challenges humanist dualisms and anthropocentrism, as we have seen. Rossi Braidotti, for example, critiques the concept of a unitary, self-sustaining subject, instead proposing a view of subjects as dynamic and collective assemblages. Posthumanist scholars have also developed various branches within this framework, including feminist new materialisms, affect theory, cognitive assemblages, and studies in animal and plant agency. Well, feminist new materialisms focus on relational dynamics and the agency of matter itself. Jane Bennett in Vibrant Matter, which is the quote that we have in this slide, highlights how non human entities, such as objects and ecologies, play active roles in social and political systems. She emphasizes the vitality and distributed agency of matter in dynamic assemblages. Similarly, Karen Barat, in Meeting the Universe Halfway, introduces the concept of interaction, showing how entities emerge through their entangled relationships. New materialist literary theory explores the relationship between literature and the material world, particularly in the context of the Anthropocene. As we can see, works like New Materialist Literary Theory and Literature and Materialisms emphasize the agency of non human actors and material forces in shaping narratives. On the other hand, in articles like Strange Weather, Indigenous Materialisms, New Materialisms, and Colonialisms, indigenous materialisms challenge colonial frameworks, offering alternative views on the environment. Also, authors like Tobias Kiveren and Babette B. Tischleder show how new materialism redefines fictionality and the role of objects in storytelling, positioning literature as an active participant in the material world. Now, moving on to affect theory, which, as we have seen, is rooted in Spinoza, foregrounds this theory foregrounds embodied experiences and intensities arising from interactions between bodies. This perspective shifts focus from individual emotions to distributed agency, examining power dynamics at both micro and macro levels. The key figures like Brian Masumi or Sarah Ahmed explore the flows of affect and their role in shaping relational dynamics. Affect theory has become a significant lens in literary studies, focusing on how emotions and feelings shape narratives and reader responses. For example, works like Ancient Affects or Affect and Literature examine how literary texts evoke emotional responses tied to social and political conditions. Stephen Hines' Affect Theory and Literary Criticism or Affect Theory and Literary Critical Practice highlight how affect theory informs literary analysis, emphasizing the emotional texture of text. On the other hand, the Palgrave Studies in Affect Theory and Literary Criticism series furthers this exploration, positioning affect as central to understanding literary practice and criticism, showing how emotions are integral to both the creation and interpretation of literature. Now, moving on to cognitive assemblages, as theorized by Catherine Hayes, this application of assemblage theory examines the interaction between human cognition and technologies like algorithms or artificial intelligence. Hiles argues that cognition is not exclusive to humans but extends to non human entities, creating cognitive ecologies where humans and technologies co evolve and co create meaning. This perspective also raises ethical questions about agency and accountability in technological mediated systems. Cognitive approaches to literature, particularly in the context of electronic and post human text, emphasize how literary works function as dynamic interactive assemblages. In Unthought, Catherine Hayes explores the limits of thought and cognition, delving into how literature engages with cognitive processes. She does so similar in articles like Literary Text as Cognitive Assemblages or The Literary Text as Cognitive Assemblage, where she examines how literature, especially in digital forms, can be understood as a collection of cognitive interactions between readers, text, and technologies. Now, moving on to the final part of the presentation, animal studies and critical plant studies explore the relationality and agency of non human life forms, challenging as well anthropocentrism and hierarchical systems. Donna Haraway critiques the human non human divide and emphasizes the co creation of worlds by humans and companion species. In plant studies, scholars like Suzanne Simard highlight the cognitive behaviors of plants, such as resource sharing and environmental adaptation, often through mycorrhizal networks. Well, the intersection of literature, animals, and plants offers fresh perspectives on environmental and ecological concerns. In Human Plant Entanglement and Vegetal Agency, in the poetry of Thomas Hardy and Sylvia Plath, the author explores how plants are portrayed as active agents in literature. Also, works like The Cambridge Companion to Literature and Animals or Literature and Animal Studies delve into how animals shape literary narratives and engage with issues of ethics, representation, and environmental impact. Animals and Science Fiction examines speculative fiction portrayals of animals, while Literary Animal Studies and the Climate Crisis highlights the role of literature in addressing ecological and climate concerns. Susan McHugh's Plants and Literature further emphasizes the importance of plant life in literary studies, focusing on how plants inform narratives and shape environmental discourses. These works collectively demonstrate how literature offers critical insights into the relationships between humans, animals, and the natural world. Well, as we have seen, assemblage theory provides a rich framework for literary studies by emphasizing the contingent and relational networks through which meaning is produced, transcending human centered interpretations. It facilitates a more intricate exploration of how texts emerge from dynamic constellations of human, material, and technological forces, highlighting the complex interplay of agency and structure. Thank you very much.